welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the Improvisational Storytelling Podcast, where every week we gather together and create secret stories to never tell anyone. These other stories we tell you are the ones for you, but these ones are the ones for us. I'm, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
And I'm Seth.
And we're here to tell you the audience-approved story, or at least to talk about this last ones we just got done with. We just got done with Anarchy of the Future, I believe is what we called it. Yes. And this was sort of a cyberpunk, kind of Matrix-esque, kind of Blade Runner-esque AI world, semi-Terminator, semi-Cyberpunk 2077. There's lots of themes. I personally really enjoy the whole cyberpunk visage. The sort of everything is so bright and shiny on the facades, but the world is like kind of falling apart at the edges. So we had things like Reed's story element, which was like a ethics-based anarchy, however that works, you know, a kind of wild, wild west, but with some sort of overarching ethics enforcement by AI, you know? We had Seth's kind of interesting pantheon who were kind of sort of chosen to be in that role, which was cool. Anything that stuck out to you, Reed or Seth?
I think maybe this is something we should start doing. And then perhaps, you know, we can giving it a rating, because then it gives an opening for us to give like a rating.
Oh, and
I did this with the kids. I was going through, they were watching Up or something. And then I was like rating that compared to the other ones and giving like the ratings, not about like how good they were and why that was. So I don't know, does that sound like an idea to you guys?
yeah, I kind of like that because that also allows you to go sort of week to week and kind of explain when something kind of hits the top, you know? I won't make anyone go back and listen to all the episodes and give them a rating. I mean, I want all of our listeners to go back and listen to the episodes. I'm talking about you guys. Don't have to go back and listen to all the episodes and give them a rating. But I think going from here on out, that seems like a cool idea.
Yeah, because then it would give our listeners an opportunity to say, what? He only thought that was a 3. I thought it was a 10, or, you know, something that they can come back at us and
Right.
tell us we were wrong. Because that always gets people to, you know, respond, is
Yep.
telling something they're wrong. So,
So what's your rating then?
So I would say for this, probably rating would be probably like a 6.
Yeah. I remember, Reed, you were talking earlier about how you really like this one. What's your rating for this one?
So, well, I would put it in the top ones that are memorable to me. Like maybe in top 20 of all our episodes. How many are we on now? Like
well, we're on episode 268, I think.
Yeah, this is for me. This would be up there in the top. Now, I don't know, like in a scale of 1 to 10, since this is Wait, It Gets Better, we haven't achieved a 10 yet. I rate this one really high, and so like really high in terms of where we could go with it. You know, I mean, I would rate it really high, but for me, that's like a 7. So
yeah,
but that's just my own. I guess we each have our own criteria for how we would rank them.
Right.
I mean, and obviously we couldn't rate anything a 10, like you said.
Yeah.
So really anything over the half mark puts it, you know, in an upper tier.
Yeah. We'll see as we sort of go forward from this place, giving it ratings. Maybe I'll start tracking them. Maybe I'll start putting that in the show notes about what each person rated the episode at. And then we can start doing some data collection and tracking, and then create some statistics based on what kind of stories we need to write in order for it to be a 10 for Reed.
Yeah, so like if I'm ranking something that I think really is worth listening to as a 7, that like a lot of people out there are thinking 7, meh, you know, kind of.
But they don't know. Maybe to them, maybe they really associate themselves a whole lot with Reed and his ranking system and his stories. So the things that Reed ranks high, they want to listen to.
Okay.
I think everyone should just rank everything. Start a Twitter account, start taking pictures of stuff and ranking it. Any parts of the story, though, that stuck out to you guys that you guys really liked?
Well, go ahead,
yeah.
Seth.
No, go ahead, Reed.
Well, the whole concept of this, you know, a society that is where most of the mundane functions are run by the AI, you know. You got obviously the obvious ones, banking and communication. You've got the economic system, or
right,
where Levi introduced in the first episode, you know, where people are rewarded for writing code, right?
Yeah.
Like making this system more efficient, and then you would get credits, or and it would be could be used as currency, rewarded by the AI system. But because that was such an incentive, it became like almost like too many cooks spoil the broth.
Yeah.
It's like had gotten very complex, and I love that. Anything too good to be true probably is. And I personally connected it with an old Heinlein story, Moon is a Harsh Mistress. Of course, his ideas, it was based on the moon. And this is like, a few generations into permanent settlement on the moon.
Right.
And so you had like almost a different species where you're growing up, you're born, grow up, work and die on the moon with, 1/6 gravity. So physiologically, people are different. But anyway, all these functions, you've got well, of course, because of the vacuum of space, everything is enclosed and essentially mainly underground. And so you have the computer running all the heating and ventilation sort of aspects, and then water, all the utilities, plumbing and sewage and everything else, and all that, and heavily, all the banking functions, obviously. And that's where I was connecting up with this story. However, not on the same scale. And there they had a problem. The computer woke up.
Right.
The whole notion of it, computer sentience was kind of like when did he write that? In the 50s? I'm not sure. But anyway, it was a great story. And I kind of, this captured my imagination when Levi led off with that. So that was fun for me.
Yeah. I was thinking it's kind of like this. It's kind of like a bell curve.
Yeah.
And like it happened and everything got really good.
Mm-hmm.
But then as the sort of the bloat started to set in and too many people's updates and things just then it kind of went back down the other side of the bell curve. Am I thinking about this correct? The bell curve is the one that kind of goes up
Yep.
and then down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then came down, and they're kind of in the same place they were in before, except now an AI, which you can't like talk to anymore because it runs so slowly, is in control of everything. An AI, everything's automated, but you can't like make inquiries for change because some guy 50 years ago wrote an update that the AI was only going to be open to inquiries, for 15 minutes on a Saturday once every blue moon, and the AI was like, oh, wow, that'll make me so much more efficient. Except that guy became a millionaire, but as a result, the entire system kind of got jammed up. So, yeah.
Kind of sounds like regular government.
Yeah, it does kind of sound like regular government. It started off as a really good idea, and it turned into like offices full of bureaucrats wasting everyone's time.
We need an efficiency manager to make sure that our efficiency operatives are operating efficiently.
Yeah.
But we need someone to efficiently manage the efficiency manager.
Yeah, I just didn't want to make another political. That's why I made it an AI, because I just didn't want to make another political podcast. This isn't a political podcast.
Well, considering that I started it off by saying government type, and in those days there was no king in the land, and every man did what was right in his own eyes, and I called it ethical anarchy.
Yeah. Didn't we have like a conversation like before recording one day about how impossible calling something ethical anarchy is?
Yeah.
I was making my point that I think there's no such thing as ethical anarchy.
Yeah. That presupposes that there is a standard that everybody adheres to.
Right. Which means that's not anarchy.
Right.
Right. So it's closer to like a loose liberalism, not like sort of a libertarian style system.
I think that's fair.
I like ethics-based anarchy though, because especially at the end of the story, when sort of the chains are removed, so to speak, and everyone kind of begins to quote unquote do what is right in their own eyes. It's supposed to be a happy ending, but the happy ending is the fact that now people are actually responsible for their lives, and not that everything turns out okay. Things get a lot more difficult when you're responsible for your own life. There's a lot of questions and things that have to be answered, but ultimately it is the better option to be responsible for yourself. You know what I mean?
Right. I kind of like
I think
go ahead. mean,
As I kind of like, and I think you mentioned it earlier the other day or something with the the pantheon being not necessarily like some kind of ancient gods or supernatural
Right.
this or but just really kind of an elite class that I think technically manage the AI or basically like the IT people ultimately that then over time pass more and more of their responsibilities over to the AI and then ultimately you know, it ran and benefited their life,
mhm.
and then they kind of sit in their ivory tower as,
Right.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I think of kind of like a totalitarian or a Soviet style system where you have the ministry of this and the ministry of that, and and I kind of poked. I kind of one. I had the artifact where a guy found a musical instrument, and
Oh, right.
yeah, and so like the ministry of music, originally, of course, had been the top performing musicians were like the elite of that god, if you will, if we're using the pantheon thing, but the elite, and then as AI took over the centuries, there was less and less actual making of music, but more just managing everybody's access to whatever kind of music fits their fancy.
Right.
And then when you found this actual like a piano like device that had a recording or a what did I call it? I called it a cylindrical, kind of an archive of songs and written out musical score with complete explanation of music theory. All of a sudden, like it poked a pin in this facade, so to speak. Like, oh, we can actually make our own music and like write it down, write the notes down and record, and so that we could, and then use this instrument to play the music and not have the computer do it for us, and anyway,
Right.
it was like yet another crumbling of the wall, so to speak.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that as you were talking about that. One of the ways you can save space when you have music files is you can do a terrible large amount of compression, right?
Yeah.
And what you end up doing is you end up cutting out high and low notes. So you end up with this just kind of middle sound. That sounds like a song, but then you hear the song played live or you hear it played uncompressed or analog on a record or something like that. And these peaks and these valleys and things are just like so much more dynamic. I have this kind of idea that everyone was listening to this kind of middle compressed music because somebody a long time ago found a way to make things more efficient for the AI to stream music
Exactly.
by applying a ton of compression, and what it's basically done is just done that over and over and over again. And finally, this guy listens to music or plays music for the first time, and it's kind of like this eye-opening thing. So,
no, I really like that because it did touch on one of my theories that I have personally, and that is that AI has been developing all of our music for quite a while.
oh, really?
Yeah. Now not I just like to pick on country music, and I'm not talking like old school country music, Johnny Cash and Earl Haggard and
Yeah,
and who knows, maybe it goes back to then because some of the concept probably goes back to then, but probably wasn't managed by AI back then. Because some of that even goes back to the Beatles where they find like the what do you call it? That's not a ringtone, but the jingle,
oh, yeah,
right? And since about sometime back then, more and more people started compressing, kind of like that compression idea. There can be some interesting, music and stuff, but then compressing that, the chord changes,
yeah.
I don't know, it's been a while since I took piano and music and whatnot, but so someone who knows music can correct me if I'm wrong, like the chord progression and like how it operates from different, oh god, the words are like right there. Stanzas comes to mind, but stanza I know isn't the right thing. Octaves or sets of music just become repetitive with
Right.
like the verse, then the chorus, the verse, the chorus, and it's just a repetitive thing. You can go and a lot of modern music, and I know particularly a lot of like the country music, which isn't country music. They can interchange. The music is exactly the same, the wording, most of the words for most of the songs can all be mixed up, and you wouldn't know that it's a mishmash of songs. It's like the same idea. I think you've seen it, where they cut across, they make that mash of Justin Bieber and
A Slipknot song.
Slipknot.
Yeah.
I was going to say Corn, but it wasn't Corn, but Slipknot. And they're actually doing the same thing. It's the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
I'm gonna
It's the
say-
same melodies and same chord progressions. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. And so when one person's like, "Oh, I'm into, metal and kind of that extreme thing," and so like, "Oh, I'm Justin Bieber. Oh, wow, yay, hooray." It's like, and then you realize there's nothing different between it. It's the same thing, right?
Right.
What is it? It hit that. I was talking probably about a year ago to one of my brothers, and we were talking about this a little bit, and then I was relaying because the country station was on in the background, and then I was just giving him the words off of like what was being said.
Yeah.
And it was literally like they took an AI, had it watch, you couldn't even say a music video, but like a mishmash video of like country stuff, and made a song for it. Like it was like, if you like, big sky night, the stars shining. Like that was literally one of the lyrics. And you're kind of like, that just looked like an AI watched a video of some people sitting on the back of a truck looking at the night sky, and like picked out like things from the visual and put words to it. And then the rest of the song kind of progressed the same way. And the next one, it was the same thing, where like the words, they just kind of, it looked like it was just putting out lyrics based on like images of that genre.
And this is a theory
it
that
needed
you
to spit
have
something out for.
is true. You believe that this is true about about music, certain music artists.
Well, maybe not certain. I think it's just becoming more and more of an industry standard. It's like, I think there's a meme for it where it's got, I think it's got like the Bohemian Rhapsody, right? Which was, written by one guy, produced by himself, and played by his band, right? And it's, technically one of the greatest songs, using air quotes for just in case someone doesn't like Bohemian Rhapsody or Queen. Next to Beyonce, one of her number one top hits, but it's got like 12 producers, 6 writers, and all it really is just the repetitive of like, girls rule the world. Yeah, girls, we rule the world. And there's some
Talent by
naughty language
committee.
in there, but like, and you're like, it took 12 people to write and produce that, right? And then something I found out the other day, I was watching an interview with to go back to something else. I know I'm probably going on a rant here, but like, there's nothing new under the sun. I think it was, and I could be wrong, but I think it was Metallica.
Don't you
in an
dare.
interview.
No, I'm just kidding.
No. So it was, I can't remember which song it was, but basically he just reversed the like the chord order for Beethoven's Fifth. And it's a popular song. I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but everyone would know it. And no one caught on to it for years and years. But all he did was take Beethoven's work and just not play it in the reverse order, but play the chords in the reverse order. Which then, if anyone knows some of the like Beethoven probably thought of that as well, and probably had that planned to do, but then no one could play it because that's how Beethoven was. He was like, we need to play this at like 8 billion frames per second. I know that's not music, but everyone's like, but it doesn't work that way. But he's like, it's working like that in my head. We need to play it like that. But no one could do it. Yeah, sorry. I took a little rant, but no, I thought that was really an interesting idea or topic, because it hit on something that I think actually is going on. But
I've heard other people talk about a seeming flattening of creativity, and one of the thing is, if you just look at fashion, you could see, that is the 50s or the 60s or the 70s, but you could go out on the street today wearing something that was just common in 2004 or 2005, and here's 20 years later, and there wouldn't really be any difference. It's just like
Cars.
Yeah.
Cars are getting just kind of round and lumpy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, guys, are we controlled by an AI?
And then
Do we live in
the
anarchy of the future?
I remember.
I don't know. Have you looked into simulation theory?
Being an old dude, I remember as a teenager going to see the movie 2001 Space Odyssey in the theater in the summer of 1968. Okay, and so we're like 60s, right? And the whole Apollo program is underway, and going to the moon and everything. And now, the 2001 was like this futuristic thing where Pan Am, part of it is a Pan Am flight to the moon, where you have a permanent, you have a a place like an airport where you get off your Pan Am flight and then you visit the various, do the touristy thing on the moon, which is with, obviously established facilities and whatnot. And you look back, well, what happened, from 1968 to 1998? 30 years went by and we hadn't been back to the moon. There's a whole bunch of other things
Because
that
it was
happened.
filmed in a Hollywood basement.
That's
Go back to the music thing.
that's great.
Anyways,
Yeah, so nothing actually changed. And that's kind of how I view this story being is that the AI, at first there was great leaps and bounds with the AI in control, and then everything kind of ground to a halt. As the guys at the top kept their position on top, and the AI being in control of so much just kind of held everything. But cool. Well, good talk, guys. I'll give my score now. I give this story a solid 4.
Okay.
I thought it was really good. But it didn't attain to the 3.
There you
Um,
oh wait. Is that in reverse? Are you grading that in reverse order?
it's opposite day, and I'm grading it in reverse order, so it's just normal.
Okay.
But yeah,
Because maybe we should establish that. Which side of the spectrum is the better side of the
well,
spectrum?
it's 1 to 10. 1 being the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life, and 10
Okay.
being you'd literally stake your life on it succeeding. No, stake your life on it succeeding. That's way too. That's not what I meant. But 10 being the what you'd consider the best.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad to hear your aspirational approach to this program, that it's going to get better.
Yes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for this recap episode. We love to hear from you. If you would like to tell us your thoughts on this story, any cool ideas you had for future stories, please email us at waititgetsbettercast@gmail.com or send us a message on Twitter at @getsbettercast. Till next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye.